and welcome to the Pre-sale Pulse, Canada's most sought-after real estate show. And we're dedicated and committed to helping the marketplace understand everything happening in real estate across Metro Vancouver and the Fraser Valley. Now, I'm Ryan Lalonde, and I'm joined by Emily, Canada's marketing superstar and worthy contestant on The Voice, Susana Gonçalves.
No comment.
I dropped that in just before we started.
Nice.
Back to school already. For some of us, we're really happy. Some of us were a little bit sad, but Staples commercials would have you believe that it's the most wonderful time of the year. And if you're a developer preparing for a launch, you have something upcoming into the marketplace, you might be saying the exact same thing. September is a huge month. We have everything changing. We have COVID policy implementations of the vaccine passport, federal elections, and then some of the biggest pre-sale launches hitting the market this year. Lots to talk about, so let's dive in.
If you're new to the channel, well, first of all, what's taken you so long? Otherwise, Pre-sale Pulse, it's about recapping both the pre-sale and the resale marketplace over the past 30 days. We're gonna touch on everything trending in our industry and ensure our subscribers feel like they have their fingers on the pulse and become real estate intelligent.
So in today's episode, we're gonna talk about some of the biggest headlines out there. We're gonna talk about a shortage in new listings in both the Fraser Valley and Greater Vancouver because they're parallel universes right now. We're gonna talk about the hottest projects coming to the market in the next couple of months. Then of course, the looming election on everyone's mind and what is going to fall out of it. So we know that affordability is going to be back into the forefront of the federal government's platforms, but there's a lot more also that's hidden in all the fine details.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, our internal MLA advisory team is active in all major markets across Canada, so reach out to us using the links below, and we're happy to provide some market data, information on specific marketplaces, or recommendations on product design.
You're right. We love to hear from you, and we want to continue to improve on the depth of understanding that we're sharing. Anything that we can do, please drop us a line.
Yeah, special thanks to Altus Group and Urban Analytics, and of course, all the industry leaders who help us prepare.
So let's get going and start with a macro look of what's happening out there in the world around us. A new pre-sale pulse, a new announcement from the Bank of Canada. On September 8th, the Bank of Canada announced its intention to hold policy rates and maintain its quantitative easing target of $2 billion per week. This is a wild number. It's expected to hold out through the end of October, and as GDP growth has not increased at the pace originally forecasted, the expectation is for the Bank of Canada to continue on with their buying frenzy. Now, with that in mind, you may have seen the headlines also about inflation. It's sitting around 3.7% in the month of July, and many are wondering where rates are headed. Now, I highly recommend checking out the interview series with Scott Jingles. He's the founder of Nest Mortgage Group, and we have discussed interest rates. We talk about refinancing, and then of course how Canadians are making the most out of the current interest climates and how to maximize their dollar in real estate. To highlight though, all the signs are pointing towards interest rates holding until late 2022 and possibly into 2023. Overall, Canada has seen 90,000 new jobs added in the month of August. This is the third consecutive month of job growth across the country. We love those numbers. And as expected, British Columbians also outpaced the rest of Canada with unemployment in the province. It's now sitting at 6.2%. Gains in job growth in BC came from the growth in both the restaurant and hotel industries. BC also has one of the highest employment rates with a job recovery rate of 101%. I don't even know how that's possible, but that is fantastic. And as of the time of this filming, the Canadian dollar is trading at 79 cents to USD. That's unchanged from last month. It's generally, though, surprising given the status quo, messaging from both the central banks and what is happening down south of the border. COVID-19 passports, they are now in full effect. As of September 13th, British Columbians are now required to provide both digital proof of their COVID-19 vaccination status to be allowed into restaurants. And the intent here is all about helping non-essential businesses confidently welcome their patrons, knowing that the double vaccination is in effect. That's it for macro. Next up is Metro Vancouver Pre-sale, but be certain to check out the Fraser Valley edition of the Pre-sale Pulse as well for a full market round on everything that's happening in the Fraser Valley and very, very focused on some of the sub-markets within it.
So let's look at our pre-sale data for the month of August. We saw 12 projects launch and release over 1,800 units to the market. That is one of the highest per month releases we've seen all year. Now, as expected, same month absorptions came down because of the added release of inventory. The past couple of months, we saw that fall in the 42 to 49% range. So this month, 32%. We predicted this a couple of months ago that we were going to see the slowdown throughout the summer and into September as people really focused on summer vacations and prepping for back to school. So none of this is surprising. Overall though, with almost 600 pre-sale sales in August, it still represents a very healthy number of absorptions within the pre-sale market and just a slight decrease month over month. One of the highlights though was Concert Properties Drift, which saw significant market attention. We talked about this last pre-sale pulse. I told you to put your money there. After beginning sales mid-August, it saw 90% of its inventory absorb into the market. So great success there.
Suze, let's talk about August pre-sale project numbers. So 12 projects launched in the month of August. That released over 1,800 units into the market. 5 of the 12 projects were wood frame, many of which launched in the Fraser Valley. Now, this is very much expected given our low interest rate environment. No surprise with the absorption rates. This is a really opportune time for many investors and many first-time home buyers are entering the market because they understand that interest rates are so low. So as reported in previous episodes, we're really seeing home buyers now considering pre-sale as an alternative to resale, and that's in order to avoid some of the really strong competition that's happening in the resale marketplace. This is especially true in the townhome market, where sales to listing ratios are reaching all-time highs.
So looking at the month of September, we're expecting 17 projects to launch, adding over 2,000 units into the market. So that is nearly double the 1,100 monthly average we typically see in the lower mainland, and would be on the heels of a big August. With that in mind, we expect September numbers to be pretty similar to August as people are focused on, again, back to school activities. Of course, we've got this little thing called the federal election happening. So as we look further into fall, we are expecting more concrete supply to be released. And with 1,000 units in September alone, it's going to get competitive out there, but thankfully, demand appears pretty stable.
Why don't we talk quickly about Slate by BD Living, Suze?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, well, we always find that one of the best ways to get a grasp on what is going out in the pre-sale market is, of course, to understand what's next over the next 2 to 3 months. Suze, tell us what's going on in West Coquitlam.
Yeah, so after the successful launch of West in Coquitlam, it seems BD is not ready to rest on their laurels and is in the process of releasing Slate in Brentwood. The development will include 313 premium condominium units and is targeting around $1,100 price per square foot. They will be hosting a realtor event on September 2nd, so that's coming up very soon, which means we'll likely see Slate launch in early October.
Next up, I think we got to talk about Artesia by Qualex. Now, if you recall last month's pre-sale pulse, we mentioned that the standard and how active Metro's pre-sale market has been over the past 6 months. Well, it seems that the trend is continuing now into the fall with Artesia by Qualex coming very, very soon. It's a 31-story tower. It's expected to launch later this fall. It's going to bring about 247 units to the marketplace. As you'd expect, though, in Metrotown, smaller formatted types is really making up the majority of the unit mix. That's making up the majority of the sales. So we expect Artesia to target mid to high 1,200s per square foot. This is emphasized to an investor and to a very young professional purchaser. The belief is, though, that small format inventory within the building will be absorbed very quickly.
Now, as we move still in Burnaby, Azure 2 by Lettingham McAllister. This is part of their Southgate City Master Plan community. This is 60 acres. Azure 2 is expected to launch this fall and will match Azure 1 in terms of spec and product offering. Azure 1 has been about a 50-50 split of investors and end users and sold most of their inventory earlier this year. We expect Azure 2 to be very similar.
I feel like we got to touch quickly on Mirrored by Concert Properties as well. This project is big. The overall site will be a collaboration between Concert, YMCA, and the city of Coquitlam. Market Tower is going to offer 468 units. It's going to rise about 50 stories out of the ground, the third highest tower that's actively selling in the market today. We talked previously about the growth and the investment coming to Coquitlam. We see this as a long-term opportunity for home buyers. There's a lot of value there still to be realized. What we have noticed from this marketplace too is a significant escalation in price per square foot. From where it was selling about 1.5 years ago to where it is today, we've seen a lot of gains. We expect those gains to continue. And what it's really going to do is speak to the incredible value still available in programs such as View by Amacon and Smith & Farrell by Boffo.
So let's turn our attention now to the resale data for Greater Vancouver. There were just over 3,000 resales in August. Overall, I actually thought we were going to be just below that benchmark, but the market surprised us, sneaked past it, which indicates, again, just ongoing stability and solid market growth. Although down slightly from July, sales were still up 20% from the 10-year August average. And now supply continues to decrease as well, with 5 consecutive months of decreasing inventory. And so that's a really important piece to note. While this creates a great environment for sellers, it negatively affects how much market activity can occur. Simply put, there just isn't enough active listings to keep up with demand. Of course, a large part of that is due to the historic demand we saw in the first half of this year. As seasonal shifts in the market decrease demand in the winter, we'll likely see an increase of inventory to replenish supply.
You can't talk sales to listing ratios without talking about the composite benchmark price. Today it's sitting at 1.176 million. It's effectively unchanged from last month, which is a nice trend. Now, while we've seen constant demand somewhat wind down from some of the frenzied months a little bit earlier in the year, the lower interest rate environment and the large gap in between available supply, our expectation is that prices will continue to escalate and there's just some momentary pause that's happening. So even with the uncertainty related to the federal election and increase in COVID cases, the potential purchasers are really recognizing that the annualized appreciation in 2021 is likely here to stay.
As mentioned, we're seeing a supply shortage in the resale market, which continued in the month of August. So of course, when that happens, it's it's no surprise sales to listing ratios remain very similar to the previous month. In Greater Vancouver, we're at 35% for all product types, 52% at townhomes, still leading the way, 39% for apartments, and 25% for detached, which I think will be the stat to watch over the fall, as single family has historically been the leading indicator on market trends. I think it's probably a good time to buy detached in the next few months, if I'm honest, before things ratchet back up in the new year. Overall, market remains active and healthy at these levels. Not crazy price escalation, but just enough to keep everyone happy.
We've seen sales to listing ratios that are in Metro Vancouver that are a little bit softer from where they were maybe 6 months ago. But what's quite interesting is that when you compare them to the Fraser Valley, where that pendulum really has swung and where so many have begun to search for homes, as there's been an unhinging between the office and work and its proximity to the home, what we're noticing is that all single sales to listing ratios in the Fraser Valley are essentially double that of Greater Vancouver. And so if you think about where the opportunity is in the marketplace, it's going to bring itself much closer to the downtown core.
All right, well, that's a wrap for today. I think this show's all about providing real estate intelligence and helping you keep a finger on the pulse of the real estate market. With that in mind, we'd like to add a special segment to an episode where we'll answer some of the pressing questions you may have or insights you're seeking. Look for the link below to submit your questions. Now, if you found some value in today's episode, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, subscribe to the Newswire, our daily email roundup of the latest real estate news. Subscribers get early access to Pre-sale Pulse, market insights, and the latest projects breaking ground. Now, of course, the MLA advisory team is always available if you need data or more marketplace information. Contact us by visiting the links below. Lastly, we want to hear from you and leave a comment if you have any questions or want us to speak about any trends or insights not mentioned in today's episode. We enjoy hearing from our peers and want to ensure that the Pre-sale Pulse is your preeminent source of real estate intelligence.
Suze, that is wrapped and that is nailed. Well done.
Great. See you next time.